Russell's 13 2025. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much. So do me a favor, smash that subscribe button, hit the like button. All of that greatly helps the channel continue to grow. So thank you very much for that. So we're going to dive into today the Russell's 13 2025 and really let you guys know a little bit more about what this one has to offer here on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. So we are tackling the Russell's 13 here in 2025. Really excited to get into this. Obviously, you can see I don't have a bottle, working off of a sample today, but we're going to dive into it, give you my first impression, my thoughts on that. So let's kind of waste no more time. Let's kind of dive into this and see exactly what this is going to give us. So the Russell's 13 2025 comes in at 123.8. Pretty typical mash bill, 75 corn, 13 rye, 12% malted barley. Obviously, it is age stated as 13, so we know that's going to be the minimum age of the bourbon within this barrel. MSRP on this is going to be about 200 bucks, give or take. Good luck with that. The secondary market could be double, maybe upwards of $500 at this point for this one. But regardless, if you're able to get it, I think at MSRP, probably still an okay value for the most part. But let's kind of dive into this thing and give you guys an idea of what the Russell's 13 2025 has to offer. So the one thing I'll say right away is it has this beautiful older oak and a really fantastic spice behind it. Those really nice, rich kind of brown sugars, almost like a decadent, brown butter, something along those lines. Here's where a little bit of the cherry comes in. Now, I'll say it's a little bit more of a muted, like Luxardo cherry that is working almost into a kind of cherry pipe tobacco. You do get a little hint of, again, a little more aggressive kind of oak, like a really, I don't want to say tannic, but it's a really older oak feel on this. Almost this bright citrus note as well. I'll say as you kind of get into it a little bit more, this was for me where a little bit more of the fruit kind of started to come out in this. Now, other than the cherry, it just feels like a very kind of mingled together dark fruit. So whatever that is to you, you can kind of think of it like that. It may be like a fruit pie, something along those lines, but in terms of it being distinctive outside of the kind of citrus notes, again, it kind of works into that fruit pie kind of feel. Now, here's something interesting, and oftentimes I'll get this on not only some dusties, but with a bourbon that has some older, blends or just an older single barrel. Oftentimes that older oak will give me a little bit of a butterscotch feel. And as I kind of sat down with this even the other day and today, a little bit more of that kind of butterscotch started to come out again a little bit in this. And the only thing I can kind of relate that to is getting that on not only older whiskeys, but whiskeys that have, some age to it. Again, not dusties necessarily, but some of the more modern things these days where you're into that, 12, 13, 15 type of year range. I get a little bit of that butterscotch feel on this. It's a beautiful nose. It's kind of very bright with everything I kind of described, but has this little extra brightness behind it. It's something that I've noticed in the past maybe year or two with some of the Russells is there is this brightness that it has to it. I don't know what to attribute that to. I just know that it feels very like kind of bright, especially on the nose. So let's not waste any more time. Let's kind of tackle this and see what it's going to give us on the palate. Cheers. Yeah, so like I got very much on the nose, there's this, again, that really like intense kind of wood note without it being tannic. You know that there's some age behind this. Again, with that older, I'll just call it older oak, older wood note, but the spice on this is pretty incredible. Like, it's fantastic in terms of those two kind of working extremely well together. Little hint of some dryness that's there as well. Not to the point where it's going to destroy your palate or anything, but again, I think that's where a little bit more of that older oak is kind of coming through and starting to feel or be a little bit on the kind of dry side. Yeah, that's where it kind of starts to get, like, once you get a little bit of that dryness, maybe some of the leather notes, but in addition to that, also where some of the kind of the cherry pipe tobacco, a little bit of that Luxardo cherry, not as heavy a cherry as I've had on some Russells before, but this one has some of that more kind of pipe tobacco, a little bit heavier on the oak, the spice. So a lot of those richer kind of undertones that it has, more so than just any kind of, straight up sweetness. This does have some complexity, yet still being kind of balanced all at the same time. Similar to almost the kind of same time frame of when the fruit notes really started to come through for me, was kind of similar on the nose, maybe halfway through. And the same type of thing is happening for me here, is that, again, a little bit more of that kind of vanilla frosting, kind of fruit pie combo type of thing. Other than the cherry, I don't know if it's overly distinctive in terms of a particular fruit. It just has that kind of dark fruit feel, all while kind of comboing with a little bit of this kind of maybe pastry, or like a vanilla frosting or custard, something along those lines, that works really well with that kind of older oak, leather, kind of the cherry pipe tobacco. Fantastic spice. That's the one thing that this has had all the way through, that's continued to be very tried and true, is that spice factor. Like, it is really allowing for each sip to feel much longer. So it's, so far, this has an awful lot kind of going on for it. Yeah, for me, I would say you have to be a fan of that older oak kind of profile. Not that it's so oak dominant, but it is there. So if you're somebody who struggles with a little bit of a heavier oak influence on a bourbon, I don't know if maybe this would be for you. I mean, as good of a whiskey as it is, maybe you can get past that a little bit, but it does have a heavier oak and spice profile, all while you still kind of mingle in some of those fruit notes, a little bit of that kind of cherry pipe tobacco, some leather. If there was any bit of like a nuttiness that you pick up in this, I would say it's more of like an almond, something along those lines, not, cashew or anything. It feels more almondy than anything. So, if those are kind of, where you are okay with in terms of a profile, this will work for you. I mean, if it's not, and you don't dig some oak within your bourbon, you may struggle a little bit with this. But again, that spice consistently all the way through, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I feel in terms of, like, if we talk a little bit about the mouth feel and kind of how coating it is, it feels, I think, kind of average. I wouldn't say it's like overly like thick or creamy or anything along those lines. It does coat the mouth well. The one thing for me that kind of allows this to, like, maybe feel like a slightly longer finish is that spice kind of lingers, maybe a little longer than some other bourbons do. But overall, I think in terms of what it was that I've described, if you enjoy that profile, I think you'll like it. Now, here's what I'll say. I've had probably in the last year, maybe year and a half, some Russell's picks just regular Russell's Reserve single barrel picks that have been, I'm going to say, very, very close to this. And those being at about, let's just say $65, $70, give or take. I've had some of those that were even less in terms of age that feel very much in line with this. So, you know, do I think of this as I have some of the other, you know, Russells, you know, the 13 or things along those lines? I would struggle to, I guess, tell you to spend $200 if you can, when there have been some Russell's Reserve single barrel picks that have been either as good, I don't want to say, you know, better, but I'll say on par with this. As good as this is, you know, that's where I struggle with maybe telling anybody to definitely, you know, buy a bottle of this. Now, again, if you can find it, they're going to be very extremely difficult to find. So maybe you pull the trigger at that point. But in terms of overall flavor profile, like I said before, I've had several, you know, Russell's Reserve single barrels that have been, I'll say, equally as good as this. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. But, you know, overall, at the end of the day, you know, my recommendation, I think, for this would be, if you're able to get a sample of it, you know, give that a try. See if this is something that ultimately works for you. I know there are an awful lot of people who tend to struggle with a little bit of a heavier oak profile, which to me, this has a little bit of that. So maybe it makes it less approachable for you from that standpoint. But again, overall, for me and what it is that I enjoy from a great bourbon, this works extremely well for me. Now, I wish it was a little bit creamier. Maybe I wish the texture of it was a little bit heavier. But overall, in terms of the flavor profile, this is kind of right in my wheelhouse. I do appreciate a little bit more oak. I do like when you get some of those cherries, pipe tobaccos, leathers, great spice, a little bit of butterscotch, like I said before on this. Maybe a little hint of citrus, some nuttiness. Again, I mentioned, you know, more of an almond feel that it has to, or a toasted almond, something like that. So if that's something that sounds good to you, great. That perfect. It's a fantastic bourbon from that standpoint. But if this is not doable for you in terms of price or whatever it may be, maybe give, even off the shelf, give a really good Russell's Reserve single barrel a try and just see how that works, you know, in kind of comparison, if you're able to do that. Because there are some fantastic Russell's Reserve single barrels that are out there, you know, but again, if this is not an option and that's an option, which there's a far more chance of that being an option, give that a try. But overall, as I'd mentioned, this, you know, is a fantastic bourbon. You just have to appreciate some of the things that I think I'd mentioned throughout the day. So with that being said, let me know your thoughts on the Russell's 13 2025 release. If you've had it, where does it kind of fall for you in terms of this one in comparison to some of the others? Maybe even this versus a Russell's Reserve single barrel, or just your overall thoughts on, you know, do you think you need this, knowing that there are other really good Russell's picks and stuff out there? So with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining today. Greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook and Instagram, those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel and become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check out the Patreon link in the description below. That down there with a lot of other great things for you as well. So with that being said, and as always, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers. We'll see you in the next video.
Out the way, I've been feeling myself, I've been trying to keep it all on track. Yeah, I could tell you took your time, I've been thumbing through your ground like that. Bring my energy back, girl, you're something like the sunlight. Girl, you're something like the sunshine.